Well, good afternoon, good evening. Buenos dias, buenas noches. A hearty welcome to all of you for our Sunday wild card open mic here on Cultivating Voices live poetry. I was telling everybody earlier that every week or every time we do a wild card open mic, I'm always like, oh my gosh, I should get my deck of cards out. So today is the day I remembered, and I happen to have my Houdini deck. Hey, just for fun, as each person reads today, I'll pull a card randomly out and we'll see who you get to be on the wild card open mic. Of course, it doesn't mean anything particular, but just for a little fun today. Well, you're joining us here, Cultivating Voices live poetry, and it's a pleasure to have all of you here for our Sunday gathering. We're now hosting a minimum of 3 readings a month, and this is in our format where we go with our Poets Focus, the first Sunday of the month. Our second is our new books showcase, featuring folks who have come out in the past year or so. And we will be ending each month with our extravaganza, our wild card open mic, where you all are the features. And we are, again, so humbled and full of gratitude to be welcoming you to our platform here on Cultivating Voices live poetry. I'm your host today, Sandy Yannone, and looking forward to the poetry. We are an international, intersectional, intergenerational group of poets, and we've been hosting a variety of readings in a variety of formats since March 2020. And on our Facebook group, as you know, while not all 3,500 members join us live, we've got 3,500 or so members in our midst. Well, we have a full open mic for today, and undoubtedly I will do my best to get us through to a wait list. So the first 12, we certainly will hear from. It's up to 5 minutes apiece, and that's, as I said, that's usually 1 or 2 poems, depending on how much you set things up. Again, thank you so much to Kim Ports Parsons, Don Krieger, for all of your support of the series. We couldn't do it without you, and of course to each one of you for joining us from all across the time zones today for our live open mic. We welcome you and look forward to hearing the poetry that you have to offer today. Well, let's get us right to the poetry for our featured poets, our first 12, and we have joining us a wonderful Alexandra Psaropoulou. Beautiful to have you with us today. Thank you.
So let me just get this right. Can you actually see all the graphics going by on the screen?
Yes, I can.
So
Yep.
It's not stuck on the cover?
Nope, they're moving.
Okay, phew. So
we're all getting the hang of it.
I'm getting the hang of it.
Absolutely.
So no, it's because Don uses, a different share screen mode. So this is Flying 12 from the Flying series. If you're looking for the supreme resurrection of a passion, try finding it in a vision's flare. Volcanoes' lava erupting from Earth's womb. Battle cry, heroic exodus. Breaking all boundaries achieving the impossible. Invisible and visible entities striving to rise above life and death, above narrow values, widening narrow paradises, wider and wider along the protean journey. Monad, dyad, antithesis, and new synthesis. From each center, expanding and fulfilling discovery and power. If you are looking for the finest quality of a creation, try finding it in a divine spark. Immortality's rays enlightening mortals' minds. Etheric gastric bodies, everlasting vitality. Outgrowing every ugliness, guided by beauty. Thoughts, words, arts, giving birth to glorious civilizations. Challenging horizons, freeing from disillusions. Freer and freer along the expansion of Genesis. Logic, principles, discipline, and equals. Wisdom constructing justice, wholeness, and completion. If you are looking for the sweet manifestation of a miracle, try finding it in the human heart flame. Vibrations as rhymes synchronizing with universe's euphony. Endless cycles of sorrow and joy. Hope's momentum waning and flaxing. Waterfalls of emotions plunging down the steep cliffs of our existence. Light brightening through darkness. Brighter and brighter along our sacred friendships. Seasons, leaves, flowers, and patterns. Warding off evil, regenerating, harmonizing strength and immunity. If you are looking for the archetype of a deity, try finding it in the human soul flame. Earth's devotion, endlessly rotating sun's source. The great absolute energy, propeller of all life. Whirlpooling through humans and stars. Seas of sunlight uniting with skies of fire. Stellar symbols heightening cosmic chants. Higher and higher along the mystic path. Water, earth, air, fire, and ideas. Worlds and heavens dividing and uniting in divine proportions. If you are looking for the magical journey of a flight, try finding it in an inner euphoria. Mystical self-revelations taking us up to Empyrean worlds. Thank you.
That is the Four of Diamonds, Alexandra Psaropoulou. Thank you so much from the Flying series. Well, beautiful to have you joining us, Four of Diamonds. Well, next is Sandra Kleven, which will be followed by Annik Yerem. And let's see, Sandy, what card you get today on our wild card open mic. You're the Nine of Clubs.
All right. I've always been kind of clubby. So my single poem that I'm going to read today comes out of that joining and connecting. Cynthia and I did a 3-state book tour that included dinner with Sandra Yannone in Olympia. I told a story. She said that should be a poem. This is the poem. Tech support for David and a smile for Sandra Yannone. David Wagoner had not entered old age at all. I saw the date of his birth on the bio sheet. I marveled that he was older than my mother. He was 5 years to 90 and nothing in his presentation of self made concession to age. David was simply not an old man. He could bring fresh news from 7 or 8 decades, but he didn't live there. According to Tess Gallagher, who knew him longer, he had such a ruminative way of speaking, I recall, as if coming to everything through fog just burning off, where you can see everything you see is crisp and emergent. I taught the poet to cut and paste. Professors of his era had department staff tickling scribbles to text on amazing IBM Selectrics. Such scribes moved past decades to Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, but not so much the emeritus, recipient of the Lifetime National Endowment for the Arts Award. Interviewed on Redkey, he said, "They call Ted a nature poet, but take him to the beach and he rarely moves more than 15 steps from his seat on a log." I smiled to get that scoop. His email replies never included a copy of the prior exchange. A simple fix, but more serious, it seemed he did not know how to cut and paste. 5 years to 90, I understood, though cautious at first to ask. Finally, I knew and replied like this: place your cursor at the start, hit and hold Shift. Move your cursor to the end, right-click and choose Copy. Now open this email if it's closed. Place the cursor in your reply, right-click and right-click and pick Paste. David Wagner replied to me, "This could come in handy." I hope it did, David. RIP, January 2020.
Oh my gosh. That's Sandra Kleven, her poem about teaching. David Wagner, author of many books of poetry, probably my favorite collection, In Broken Country, on learning how to cut and paste. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Well, next we will hear from Annik Yerem, and Annik, choose the card for you. And welcome. I believe this is your first time reading today. The 3 of Spades. 3 is a mystical number.
That's good. Hello. My name is Annik Yerem. I'm a Scottish-German poet. I live in Berlin and found you via the reading last week, the Songs and Our Sisters reading. And that's when I decided I wanted to read here today. So I'm going to read 2 poems from my book that was published in August with Hedgehog Press. It's called St. Eisenberg and the Sunshine Bus. I'm going to put the link to it in the chat later, and also a link to the launch that will be next week. And I would like to invite you all if you feel like it. So I'll read 2 poems for this. I'll start with the title poem. St. Eisenberg and the Sunshine Bus. I'm sure now that you were sending me signs. Heavens opened and closed, heat blazed through me. The smell of freshly poured tar on the motorway, turbines, sunflowers, left, right, center. We stopped for a break near parched woods, found raspberry gifts, barley spikelets, wispy and gleaming like fairy hair. The damp green quiet after a big rain, fog hanging low in the mountains, blurred brake lights. Midway, I lay down in a parking lot, crying on my dog's blanket, trying to make sense of what we were doing. You were sending me signs, robins, rainbows, starfish trails. That day, we drove towards your body, to that uncluttered bright space which enclosed your darkness in those last long years. That room where, when you left, someone opened the vast window so that your soul could find its way out. And this is another poem from the book, The Heart of the Matter. The heart of the matter. I never thought about your heart or mine. Now it amazes me. Atria, ventricles exchanging blood, valves separating the two, the endocardium protecting both valves and chambers. I imagine your chambers filled with books, with words, with the heat of arguments, the ghosts of them wandering through now foreign corridors. When everything failed, this held you together. It's as simple as that. Your aortic valve just kept your blood flowing in the right direction until it didn't. On the echocardiogram, my heart looks like a Francis Bacon painting, like one of Mark Quinn's self-portraits made out of his own blood. My heartache, my heart sore. It does not look broken. Look, the cardiologist says, how fragile, how tender your heart is, just like you. I step into summer with my bleeding heart, the yearning, breathing loss of yours, and offer it to sparrowed skies. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful work. Thank you so much. And congratulations on the launch of your new book. Be sure to put it in the chat. And so glad you found us, and what a great reading. I want to give a shout out again to last week's readers in our new book showcase, Sinead McClure and Michael Sims. What an incredible reading. I'm getting just choked up thinking about it. It was so incredibly strong. And Koch O'Neill McCullough, Sinead and Koch doing their collaboration, of course, for their latest collection. So glad you could join us, and I look forward to hearing much more of your work. Well, next up is Gordon Ferris. And Gordon, let's see, what card you pull today? And Gordon will be followed by Michael Anthony Ingram and Four of Clubs. The fours, lots of fours today already.
Yeah, I'm going to read some recent poems to try to see what they're like. Now the threshold has been breached. Now the threshold has been breached. The shackles crash onto the floor. We are now free to walk barefoot on the concrete. See that all it does is chill the soles of our feet, stand there and keep nodding like the dog on the dashboard. Do you even know what they're talking about? Maybe you do, and it doesn't interest you. When the soil starts, you drift off into your own tear-free land of make-believe, where everybody looks perfect without effort, as if this really matters. In a perfect world, we wouldn't notice the shell we wear, what we have, or where we come from. Our innerness would shine and dim the frivolous trinkets of our display. Tell us that it is okay to be you and to be free. And this one's called A Mirror Looking Out. Religions in ancient times created by mankind to interpret what they could not understand. The sun, where did it come from? Where did it go at night? And the moon, what mysterious did it bring? How the seasons came and went, and how food grew from the ground, how all in nature, so mysterious. Our early religions answered all these questions, saying it was God's doing. Then went on to ask more questions, how mankind should live their lives, posing more questions to subjugate us. When we kneel down to pray, we do so with a mirror looking inwards. We look for affirmation of what we already know. And when we speak God's name, we really want it to be a mirror image with ourselves looking back. And this is called Glimpse. It's in old age, I see the unspoken words of what that furtive glance meant. In those moments, I recall the embrace buried within his stoic look, the pride in that unuttered boast. I remembered that masked smile in my direction, the unspoken words not allowed by his old ways. At the border into manhood, his unsettling words of advice to be a shopkeeper selling a dream of being a shopkeeper, of being a miner living in darkness, living the darkness of being a miner. This one's called Self. Discovered from listening to poets read our work, I'm allowed to look inside. After I listen to these poets, I can loosen the restraints on my own efforts and know the words they give me permission to use. I am allowed to sing a song of myself. And the last one is a new poem called A Poor Man's Love. Being in love is like a poor man begging for alms. A man in love sits upright, cup in hand, begging for the subject of his desire to look in his direction. You sit, hand on his arm. He has no nervousness at your touch. It elicits no thoughts or impulses. It feels just natural. You constantly push and encourage him. He has often thought of being with you. In his head, in his imagined conversations with you, there's always found so many reasons why you wouldn't be interested in someone like him. He goes on to think about why he should and deserves to be on his own, convinces himself that being on his own is the best and natural way for him to be. He has no wish to have someone become his possession or for him to become a possession. He prefers seeing the world through his own eyes, not having the view reflected through the lens of another. So it doesn't ask her out. But sometimes he still dreams they are together, but always has that fear of rejection showing its ugly face. He accepts all that he is. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon Ferris. Again, I'm astounded by getting to hear all these voices today from just all over the time zones. Incredible. Thank you for sharing some of your newer work with us. A deep, deep pleasure to have you always here with us on the program. Well, next is the consummate host of Quintessential Listening, Michael Anthony Ingram. And I can't even believe it. I pulled the 8 of Hearts.
I like it. I like it. All right. The title of the first poem is The Murder. Tonight, I murdered my life. Grief, my oldest and dearest friend, in shock, fainted and fell to the floor. I was alone. Tomorrow, what will happen to my body? Grief, still in shock, was unable to speak. That's the first one. The next one is Sisyphus and Albert. Sisyphus, I read the words of Albert Camus last night. He wrote that your eternal millstone, forever to roll a giant boulder up a steep hill and watch it repeatedly roll down again, was well earned. His reflections on the absurdity of life made me think about my own existence, my incessant struggle to differentiate the normal from the strange. Sometimes my views are so blurred that attempting to recognize the difference between aged stones and flowers is in vain. So I cannot help but wonder if, like you, Sisyphus, I will forever roll a giant boulder up a steep hill and watch it repeatedly roll down again. No, I've done nothing wrong. Unlike you, Sisyphus, I have not revealed Zeus's secret to the Socrates, nor have I been cruel to humanity. I have not cheated death twice, once, yes, but twice, no, and hell has yet to be given as my current address. My crime is that I wear a mask to hide my authentic self. Invisible yet visible, I dart through streets, conversations, and love relations so that no one will discover that I live with a mind that does not love me. The daily gurgling I hear is not calming like the sounds made by a tiny baby. Yes, a troubled mind is the granite boulder that I repeatedly roll up a steep hill. Every day, I push it up to the top of my mind's mountain, only to watch it crash again before midnight. Never ending, never ceasing chaos caused by the light and triggered by the world. I read the words of Alexandra Psaropoulou last night. Afterward, I could not sleep. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael Anthony Ingram. And folks, as you're reading, be sure to make sure that you take a peek at when you're reading, take a peek at the chat and see the comments that are being left for you as you're reading. A very spirited reading today from everyone so far. And we move next to Julian Matthews, Queen of Diamonds.
May I share screen, please?
Go ahead, Julian.
Thank you. Oh, trigger warning for 9/11. It's dedicated to Angsunya Kusele Vijay Shankar Paramsodi, 3 Malaysians who died in 9/11, and the 165 victims with double T in their names at that 9/11 memorial. And the millions who died in the name of the war on terror, whose names we will probably never know. Ode to double T. T for two, and T after T. Pair of river dancers in a hall. Umbrella couple in the rain. Synchronized divers in free fall. A row of T's are like blind believers, palms raised. Ticket holders to a death metal concert. Redemption queue at the pearly gates. 2 citadels daggered by planes. Spinners declare twin wars on terror. Double crosses on a hill, no token savior in between. 2 testaments which to believe, one is truth, the other truthier. 2 prodigal tribes, X marks the loss. 2 brothers out to prove who's worthier. Double-sided bladed warriors. Twin swords stuck in wombs. Masked air and the masquerader. Bayoneted men march to their tombs. 2 tablets taken, broken. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not repair. Side by side gravesite markers for shattered mother and father. Oh, double T, will you ever betray me? You seem sturdy, upright like 2 masts on the ark. Save me from this bloody tide. The spellbound still miss spell casting demons into this living hell, leaving you solo, T. A lone cross to bear. Say a prayer. 2 decades of despair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julian Matthews. The poem evoking does hard to believe 2 decades since from 9/11. Appreciate you elevating that work today so much. Well, folks, I continue to do my best to move us along when we're doing the open mic and not comment too much. So let us move to our next fabulous reader today. I believe joining us from Cork, Catherine Ronan. Catherine, let's see.
I
You're
can't
the nine of
wait.
diamonds. You're the nine of diamonds.
Love that. Thanks everyone. Fabulous poetry this evening. Because the local became global with COVID, I've met lots of new Zoom poetry friends. 2 of them are Hiram LaRue and Judy Chirek. And they emailed me last week to say, please get one of your poems into this friendship anthology by Surav Sarkar. So I just barely made the deadline, but I got in, lads. I got in. So it's available on Amazon. I'll put some details in the chat afterwards. So 2 of my closest friends died of cancer last year. And because when I got this call, I was like, oh my God, friendship. And then my mind kept on going back to my 2 good friends, Moira and Michelle, who died of cancer. And I wrote this poem for Moira because this was a poem I wrote after the last time I thought I would see her. Now, it wasn't the last time I saw her, but I thought it was on the day. So it's called Chemo. Life is tuning my throat, blurred ambition in the hoary husk of a thirsty oak. Eyelids fail the night, disappoint the dawn. Blistered feet carry decay and odor. Sickness burns naked in cotton clothing. Teeth loosen on ancient rags. Memories stick like green fruit to the hand-painted bowl. Dust rising from the juice past joy and entitlement. One song in our last embrace. We friendship in language never understood until now.
Tribute. What a tribute. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's Catherine Ronan. We friendship in language. What a fantastic line, and really also makes me think so much about what we do here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. We friendship in language, coming together every week. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sandy. Thanks, everyone.
Well, I understand from Alexandra that our next reader, Isaac Cohen, is just down the road from her. So this is a historic meeting of the poetry minds, and what a joyous thing when we get to meet in person. So welcome, Isaac, and I hope your travels have been well.
It looks from his camera, Sandy, that he might be walking. So I'm wondering if
All right, Isaac, we'll come back to you then.
Yeah, I think
We'll
so.
come back to you when you're settled in. If you can't unmute, I'll give you a moment, maybe stop. Are you good to go? All right, we'll come back to Isaac. Well, always a great day. Oh, there we go. Go ahead, Isaac.
Yes. Isaac Cohen, the actor. The light is on. All the dead were born for me. My soul flies over the sky. Go. And the second, the wedding of love. Your earth is waiting in my soul. I gave you a water lily and flew with you to the sky. How nice to reflect to people what is love. And the third and the next, Isaac Cohen. Who am I? I was born on the stage. I fly over the eastern sky. The world recognizes my acting talent. Play. Thank you, Isaac Cohen, Israel, and now I in Athena, Greece, and thank you to Alexandra for inviting me yesterday to the poetry meeting, and thank you, Sandy, and all my friends in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Isaac Cohen. A great joy to know that you and Alexandra have met. Safe travels. Be well. Thank you so much. Well, next. Oh gosh, I get fabulous chills when I think about people meeting that have met through the program, and it's quite a thing. It's quite a thing. Well, I'm always very glad when Jay, Rose, Anna is in the room with us. Thank you for being with us today. And I'm choosing the card. I've chosen the 3 of diamonds.
Thank you very much. I do love some diamonds.
Indeed.
Fabulous. Thank you for having me along. It's been such a busy day today because I've just done my own open mic just prior to this, and that went down really well. I feel deeply inspired by everyone this evening, so if it's okay, I'd like to share 2 short, brand new works that have not been performed before, and they're from my new autobiographical collection. This first one is called He Falls, But She Rises. He prepares for bedtimes, like nights before war, silence before gun shells, if there was one. He'd lock his door. Uncarpeted stairs angrily creak under heavy feet. Smoke-filled lungs breathe loudly but weak. His only defense, his defiance to speak. Battle cries shriek as scarlet swells burst silently through skin, barrage after barrage, oozing through threadbare vest, cherry blossom warfare from his kin. They think he lost this battle, that he's dreaming of a towel to throw in. But his assailant knows nothing of warfare. He's plunged into darkness of an apocalyptic world, lips hold tight, refusing to take part in nightmare's fright. but silence cocoons in place of comfort, a blanket never known. Warm, wet stains on long-worn mattress will later find him drowning in his own lake. It's for your own good. He never ran. He held his head up high and silently walked away as false conquerors realized that in the long game, there are never any winners in war. He turned his back to yesterday's bloody fields, awakening from his dead sleep, and today, at least, she can speak. Thank you, that's my first one. This second one is called Deluge. And when I was young, I lost love for my life, unfortunately. So there is a slight contenty thing, but it's very short. My heart doesn't dance to rain. Celebrations pop doesn't sweeten the champagne. Shaken bottles don't let the pressure drop. And yet through those fractured lens of whispering raindrops, my heart's vessel stops. I know the pop of a bottle top. Those fractals of emotions hurl from heaven's commotions, shattering glass bottle tops pop, but they never stop. Raining, spitting, gushing, raging, splatting and flooding. And this sudden cloudburst deluge, I spill my carbonated heart rouge. Swamped and smattered, head to toe. And yet the only drop that ever mattered is the one that fell from me for you. Thank you very much.
What beautiful work. Oh, yeah, I'm so moved by everyone today. Thank you so much, Jay Rosanna, and be sure to let us know also in the chat and also through, and this is true of everyone, of course, when you're getting ready to host your own events, and many of us would be thrilled to, I know, join your audiences as time permits. Thank you so much. Well, we are rolling along beautifully with the poetry today, and what quite exquisite work it is. And next, I'm very, very pleased to be able to have us hear from Dax Shtraus, followed by Giulio Magrini. And Dax is the Nine of Hearts.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for having me today. Love to hear everyone's poetry. So I wrote this piece a few weeks ago. It's related to my name change and how I started spelling my name, Danny, with a D-A-X, and how it keeps confusing people, and I'm just like living in this space, you know, right now. But I like to joke that I'm the only Danny who spells my name not phonetically, and the only Shtraus that spells my name phonetically. But yes, thank you so much, everybody. Here's my piece. I'm mentally up and down all day. I'm non-binary like that. Going down the mountain, you'll usually find me in neutral. If you're neutral on whether my gender identity is valid, you're gender neutral, and I love that for you. When I'm alone, I want to be wanted and welcome. When I'm around folks, I'm feeling exhausted and like I need to be alone. I'm non-binary like that too. Some said Switzerland was neutral, but their gender was money. I sometimes want my gender to be money too. A penis and a clitoris are the same organ on a spectrum. Change my mind. When I bottom, I often imagine it's myself I'm bottoming for. When I top, I sometimes imagine it's myself I'm topping. I guess I'm non-binary like that. Studies say humans are able to detect if someone is flirting with them less than 50% of the time. People keep asking why I'm trying to confuse them. What's in my pants? Even if they have no chance to find out either way, even if they found me on Reddit where I submit evidence for science, you couldn't trace those back to me. There are whole communities online where people trade tips on how to traverse the clit to dick spectrum. People keep asking me why I'm trying to confuse them. They say I can't spell my name with an X. but I'm just trying to stop being perceived, tired of the I's and the Y's, tired of the you can force me into a gender binary, but I can't pull you out of it. I want to be trans like dawn and dusk. I want to be non-binary like border communities. I want to be non-binary like nuance. Sometimes I need money to mask myself for safety. Sometimes I need money to mask myself for fun. Positive masculinity, like whatever the fuck that means to you, to just be happy as you and not judge you and love you, but also not to judge others and let others be others. Positive non-binary, like not having to force any one feeling or action to be femininity or masculinity, even if that means to grow your facial hair or shave your facial hair, and not to worry about if that's masculine or feminine or mammal, like grunting when you have energy to release without fear of being perceived as rude or crazy. Non-binary, like I never put a baby in anyone and no one ever put a baby in me. Non-binary, like the abolition of all borders and currencies, but sometimes I wish my gender was money. Why do I use no I or Y in my name? Only ask if you have 5 hours to hear the whole truth. Non-binary, like sometimes I remember gender as a social construct and sometimes I forget. Non-binary, like a job where my pronoun pin is visible, but no one uses my correct pronouns. Brits sometimes use the plural we to mean me. Russians sometimes use the plural you only to mean one person. Please use my they, them pronouns when talking about me. Non-binary, like the privilege to be out as non-binary. Non-binary, like we're all just fucking hypocrites and we all know it and it forces us to live as shattered selves. If you, non-binary, like self-medicating with coffee and weed and hormones. If you ask if I'm a spy for the CIA or KGB, it'd be too binary to confirm or deny. It's 2022. If you have a mobile device, you're all auto-enrolled spies. Non-binary, like we all exist on a spectrum of brave and timid. Non-binary, like most of us have a bunch of different names and identities we go by in different spaces. You and I are both alchemists. We're just experimenting with our bodies, trying to turn lead into gold. Adam just means human in Hebrew. You know, sometimes I just have memes and need a place to put them, like any other guy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danny. I really appreciate it. Non-binary, like so many, brave and timid, so many lines. Be sure to check out the chat. Great to have your voice with us today here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. It's our wild card open mic, and I'm just so appreciating all the poetry today from around the world and of such diverse perspectives and topics and utterances and necessities. Thank you again. Thank you again so much. I look forward to hearing your next poem. Well, we are doing so well. And our next poet, Giulio Magrini, and will be followed by Harvey Soss. Giulio, let's see who you are today. The Two of Hearts. There you go.
That's for me, Sandy. You mustn't have a joker in that deck. Anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead. Anyway, I have a release that dropped September the 2nd. It's called The Color of Dirt. If you're interested, I'll post my email and a link to Amazon if you wish. This poem I wrote a week ago, and I dedicated it to my wife, who had a birthday September 11th. It's called The Old Man and the Moon in the Mirror. I don't gaze in the mirror like I used to, but when I do, I see Papa staring back. He seems so tired. The buoyant vitality from 1970 has diminished to a drawn and befuddled image, encircled by disheveled gray corona. We have taken steps of conscience and apprehension, and they are taken together. I remember messy puddles, occasional unexpected holes, but we find resolution, not in glory, but satisfied we are the imperfect answer of our togetherness. Today, as the old man stares back from the mirror, I am comforted because the shadow of the hawk still flashes before our eyes, and love without aging thrives. Barbara, your eternity and govern the heavens, where you master your beloved moon and me. We continue to marvel the celestial wonder of us and gaze at your magnificent construction as creator of an old man and the moon, where we continue to live as us to the surplus of days. Thank you.
Wow, I love that. Oh, I love how the poem moved to that crescendo, the surplus of us. Beautiful. Thank you. Giulio Magrini, the new book is called The Color of Dirt, and take a look for it in the chat here, and be sure, folks, today to do what you can to support each other and all of our friends who have new publications out and who have their reading series, to do what we can to support each other in this endeavor. Well, our final featured poet today in our one of 12 is Harvey Soss, and then we'll move on to the waiting list. Ace of Diamonds, my friend, Ace of Diamonds.
Oh, there we go. All right.
There you go.
I'm going to go play lottery as soon as we're done. For all the good it's going to do me. First, I'd just like to call your attention to an invitation that I put in the chat to Artful Dodger's Poetry, a series that I conduct presently virtually, although it'll be hybrid, probably starting in November. And just one word on the two poems I'm going to read, which are related, and that is the reference to GED for those who weren't raised here. Is a general equivalency diploma for those who didn't complete their high school education. First one is called Golem. He goes out into the world as anyone might, who's lived off unemployment or stimulus checks. No mother added chips to his lunchbox or cautioned him, as our mothers did us, cross at the green, my boy, and not in between, with all the crosswalk authority of Gaia advising, wait, wait. He hasn't a mother, period, nor for that matter, a next of kin. Self-taught, he packs a quick draw push-button umbrella in his Herschel backpack in case of a sudden downpour. Always a threat to power wash his trim clay figure, so svelte, so essentially him, down to his armature of sticks and twigs. Whatever endoskeletal material was lying about at the time of his creation. Likewise, making a paste of the meltingly sad clown face around his eyes. I use the word his advisedly, seeing something of myself in him. He keeps his privates and his pronouns private, assumedly masculine, ambivalent when asked regarding online dating. His constituent parts, by his own admission, less giving and forgiving than flesh is. On the plus side, he doesn't bleed from paper cuts as we do, or communicate in the language of mood rings, or mourn the loss of love much. Second one is called Golem, the Formative Years. Coming to us unburdened by personal history, his family tree not even sparking a faint interest in furloughed lumberjacks, he seeks our approval. Having taken taken the invitation overheard from female human to male human to man up as his mantra. Lacking the usual complement of man parts, the golem, notorious G as he calls himself, practices what we call man-spreading on subway seats, learning by imitation, taking to his brick of a heart the encouragement of US Army commercials to be the best man he can be. If only he could set foot upon the yellow brick road that leads to an okey-doke education, without which he has as much chance of being inducted as the creature from the Black Lagoon. That one quick to holler racism when he's refused admittance. To facilitate his acceptance into the Army's Special Forces, after all, which of us is more special than a golem is? NG is determined to hang on his wall the high school diploma required for enlistment, imagining himself as a Green Beret, all the while pursuing his GED as an acknowledgement of his general equivalency to humankind, rooting for war to break out between angels and men, inevitable to his mind, when he might obtain some payback for the state he's in. Figuring standards for enlistment might be more relaxed then. And wouldn't he be an excellent choice, ready to defend his adopted country against the depredations of Gog and Magog? Although the plasticity of his skin when wet, his extra-natural origins, suggest that he might serve us as well in the capacity of frogman or Navy SEAL. A stranger to any formal course of study, he's enrolled in night school under the cover of night, furtive behavior suitable for the CIA, the better to hide the alien quality of his brain box. Standing out even in America's melting pot of competing orthodoxies. Between chews of Chiclets gum, his classmates, several rows of dropouts and rejects of baby mamas squeeze into desk chairs originally designed for children's butts, looking to size up this stranger among them, whose distractedness and glazed over eyes predicate someone on drugs. When some nosy Nancy sniffs in disdain or as the result of a cocaine habit, based solely on the evidence of a long ago art class, that his skin smells of clay, Notorious has an excuse ready. His day job as a ceramicist's apprentice, sweeping, cleaning, that sort of thing, never getting too meltingly close to the fires of the kiln. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's Harvey Soss, the Artful Dodger. And please do check out the Artful Dodger reading series, and congrats on making that pivot to the hybrid. I know it's an undertaking. We've been doing that with the local reading series I support here in Olympia. So congrats on that effort. It's a beautiful space that you have from the photos that we've seen.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's just a question. The pandemic, cut our staffing and our ability to be able to use the club. So I'm gonna try and work something out.
Yeah. Well, very good. We move now to our waiting list for the open mic. So it's one poem for our friends that were able to get in off the waiting list. And first today will be Josephine LoRe, followed by Charlotte Hart.
Thank you.
Josephine, you are the king of clubs today.
Thank you. I'm joining you from Calgary, which is the ancestral traditional lands of many Indigenous peoples, including the Piikani, Siksika, Kainai, Nakota, and Tsuut'ina. I'd like to thank them for bringing culture, language, and poetry to the land. And this is a new poem that I wrote last night, and it was inspired by a poem entitled The Bean Eaters. I call this a simple meal. Bread and cheese and olives, No glass of wine, no daughters vying for a chance to speak their minds, no spaghetti in pomodoro twirling in the curve of a spoon, grattalora with strands of parmigiano dripping from its sides, no cutlets, no salad, no fruit, no sweets, but coffee. Coffee once and coffee twice, for it is so good that after she rinses the espresso cups and puts away the sugar, he says, Leah, I'd like a coffee. And she'd like one too, his with 3 or 4 spoons, teeny spoons of sugar, and neither of them remembering they've already had their coffee, or that there were leftovers in the fridge just waiting to be heated, or how to make pasta by simply boiling water and adding salts. The oven, the stove top, the microwave, all mysteries now, a language unlearnt. But they can have a simple meal before their coffee, and more coffee, bread and cheese and olives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josephine. And it's always amazing to be able imagine our ability through this reading series to be able to hear a poem from someone that lives not even in our own country, who just wrote their poem yesterday, and to be able to share that with us. It's an incredible gift to all of us to be able to engage this way with each other and to be able to hear each other. I'm marveled by it. Well, next we have Charlotte Hart, and Charlotte will be followed by Larry Kerschner. And Charlotte, you, my friend, are the 8 of clubs. Charlotte may have, I'm not seeing Charlotte. Kim, are you seeing Charlotte in the, okay, great. So, sorry, folks, I should take a look first before I say who's, I should make sure they're in the room, and sometimes that happens, folks get off. So we will move on to Larry Kerschner. So glad to have you with us today. And Larry will be followed by Zomkhonto. And Larry, you, 9 of diamonds.
Sounds good to me.
That's good to you.
Thanks. A lot of my poems are kind of in your face, but a lot of my poems aren't. This is one from my last book, Selected Poems 1970 to 2020. It's called Schrodinger's Other Cat. The cat didn't come in when called at bedtime. Granted, I was pretty stoned. Later, when I was awoken by a noise that I decided was probably the front door closing. I thought I might be hearing the cat purring softly as she slept on my wife's head, but without my hearing aids in, I wasn't sure if it was sound or imagination. I could have reached out to touch the cat floating in my high space, I realized, but until I reached out, the cat was either in the house or not in the house. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry Kerschner. Schrodinger's Other Cat. That idea. Well, I believe our final reader for today, and thank you so much, everyone, is Zomkhonto. Welcome.
Thank you so much. The poem I'm going to give you, thank you so much, first of all, for all of your poetry. So beautiful to hear other people's worldviews of that spirit we love, poetry. This one is about my grandmother, Esther. If you wish to know about my grandmother, she is a grand piano whose keys accompany sopranos of angels from the tips of their lips into the most secret chambers of heaven. The rhythm carried to the tune of her feet, a tune carried across the sky like a bridal train, whispering incantations of her tribal name, the one used by her ancestors before the world came to know her simply as Esther. I imagine her learning how to answer to it. Esther, Esther, hey, Esther, Esther. A name she inhabits but cannot spell, which is good as well, because names are spells, and that name, if it carried the shame of its own ancestry wherever it was born, it will not get to her or bleed down to me. But I researched it to strip it of any perversions and found that in Persia, her name was Hadassah, and that Esther was a queen. So although she cannot spell it, it is by no accident that royalty is what it means, Esther. I imagine every time she closed her eyes and rehearsed it, Esther, 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 Esther. Because naming an African child is an initiation. It is a ritual that awakens the invisible cord that remains intact after the placenta is severed and neatly pegged into a blanket and buried in the brown earth at the foot of a giant tree. Sorry, give me a moment. That way, the child's first cry is imprisoned by the tree's roots, even if the fruit of that tree chooses to gossip about it sweetly. And in case demons of the night steal it and make rainstorms out of its purity. I imagine that her birth was attended to by midwives with gemstones for eyes, sapphire stones for nipples, and breasts that hang like the pendants of the mountain spirits. Those say to have portals that lead straight to the front steps of each planet known to the universe, because she knows wisdom by the feel of his skin as known by each planetary being. She has run her fingers like a pianist along the spine of time, a spine vast like that of a matriarch elephant as she moves silently, vast like piano keys made of ebony and ivory, composing the songs that pass underneath 3 generations of black skin, the royal matriarch of the house of Swazi, Makakula, Mtombeni, Chwala Minyela, Kochela, Bahlalelinda, Mkhonto, Dunjwane, Zila Nhliziyo, Msuthu. Grandma, your praise names are the blood that courses in my veins, traveling pathways that raise the fires that bring warmth to my black skin. I imagine your shadow follows you religiously and even keeps your secrets intimately, like how you wake up at 4 a.m. to pray for strangers in wars, soldiers in coffins, emaciated children, and even dead queens, because you are one. You pray for emaciated children who will never know the love of a grandmother. But my, oh my, you are a whirlwind of possibility. Your smile is God's favorite memory. You are the music that you play, the conductor and the sound, the singer and the audience, an entire population in one human being. The melody to which each morning sings, the soundtrack to the rising sun. Wayete, Esther Makakula. Thank you.
That Zomkhonto. And I love that today's reading ends on a tribute to a grandmother, to an elder. And I encourage, what I love about here is we can also get ideas for our own poems. And so, here's a call for all of us to go out and write a poem in tribute to an elder in our family. And I will, as we close out today, I'm gonna use that line from Zomkhonto's poem, because names are spells, and we today were spellbound by the poetry of our following dear poets. We heard at the top of the hour from Alexandra Psaropoulou, Sandra Kleven, Annik Yerem, Gordon Ferris, Michael Anthony Ingram, Julian Matthews. I love that you wave. That's so beautiful. Yes, we should all wave when we read. Catherine Ronan, Julian Matthews, Isaac Cohen on location. J. Rose Anna, Dax Shtraus, Giulio Magrini, Harvey Soss, Josephine LoRe, Larry Kerschner, and Zomkhonto. What a fabulous. How about we take a moment and unmute and show our appreciation for all of our friends today and all of us in the audience for listening. Our appreciation.
Bravo!
Thank you from Alaska.
May you always be blessed.
Washington, D.C. All right.
Magic of words. One love.
Beautiful program.
Stunning, stunning work today, everyone. I appreciate your time, your energy, your humanity. And that really is the essence of poetry, what brings us together in a community. This ability for poetry to gather us in community, for us to learn more about what it means to be in connection and humanity and partnership with each other in all the vast ways that we can and can't know, and that we learn by listening through the poetry of others. Well, you've been joining us today here on Cultivating Voices live poetry, with an invitation, of course, for you, and a reminder that you can watch all of our programs by going to our Facebook page and doing the proverbial search. And also we have our YouTube channel, and that is thanks to Don Krieger, so that if you ever want to catch the, hear the reading again, or even hear a particular poem again by one of our poets, feel free to utilize our recordings. And of course, if you miss a reading, it's always great to be able to see it after the fact. Well, we will be joining you next in the first Sunday of October for our Poets Focus. And our Poets Focus for October. Kim, remind me what the heck we said.
Oh, I just put it in the chat. The
You
theme
did,
for
just got
the
you. Oh my
theme for our
God.
next Poets
Oh my
Focus
God. I was
is
just like,
change.
change.
Any
Change.
permutations of that word,
Change in my pocket, change. The winds of change.
I'm hearing a change is gonna come, sung by Sam Cooke in my head. That's what I'm hearing.
So
But any variations on that word, right, Sandy?
Any variations on that word. We love exploring the prismatic. Thank you. I had blanked out and I was like, oh my gosh, here I am saying our poets focus on change. Bring your poetry of change to us for our open mic. It's as usual, come, 15 minutes before the reading starts to get signed up to be one of the features, but it is our focus on change. We will follow October, of course, with another new book showcase and a wild card open mic. And I thank you all so very much for joining us this month of September. Be active on our site. Feel free to post your readings, your publications, your successes, and use it to be in community with each other. It is always my great, great honor as the host of Cultivating Voices Live Poetry to be able to hold this platform in honor really of each of your voices, with much appreciation, of course, and always to Don Krieger and Kim Ports Parsons for all the support and energy that you put into making this program possible. I'm merely the mouthpiece. These folks do so much work behind the scenes, and we all owe them an amazing debt of gratitude. And of course, we owe gratitude to each one of you for being with us today and any Sunday that you're able to join us live, and all the ways that you participate on the site, on our Facebook page, and participate as poetry citizens in your local, regional, national, and global communities. And there's no better reminder of that than learning today that Alexandra Psaropoulou and Isaac Cohen are within proximity of each other during this reading. Isaac traveling to Greece to read in one of Alexandra's events, and how remarkable to think that poetry has that power to bring us together in all these myriad ways. Well, I hope that you'll have a very good couple of weeks until we join together again for our Poets Focus on Change. Until then, please check out the other reading series of our members here and join them for their fabulous platforms. And of course, take very, very good care of yourselves. Take exceptional care of your beloveds, and keep writing your miraculous poems. This is Sandy Yannone for Cultivating Voices Live Poetry, and I look forward to seeing you next time.